Order. It is 6:08. And this is the meeting of the Economic Development Committee. And first thing on our list is to review and approve the minutes from March 2024. Are they part of our packet?
Yeah, they're on the back page of the agenda.
Oh.
You said there'll be more stuff coming in over the summer. Less for,
There aren't usually, but if there are, we would try and do that by Zoom on a case by case basis. But what we are going to have, sorry, Ken, but before you got here, we were talking about on our agenda tonight, the majority of this packet is a funding request from the theater at Monmouth for a facade grant, but it's not, the application isn't complete. Although I thought it would be helpful to go over what we have so that when I get the rest of the information and we get on Zoom to vote, we at least have a basis for what, what this request is and making sure that I get all of the information you're looking for from the contact. So anyway, that's what Doug is alluding to.
Yes.
motion to approve the minutes.
I hear a motion. I see a second by Garrett. All those in favor? All right, the motion passes. Next is a funding request for community night out. And this comes from Monmouth PD.
Yes, and so again, as Garrett noted, the copy was not very clear, but basically, this is a request for an August 14th annual community night out hosted by the Monmouth Police Department. It's one that's been approved by the committee several times, and under an event request, they are requesting $300 for kind of some bottled water, plates, that kind of general stuff. And face paint as well. So,
Face paint.
yeah, I know.
Excessive.
Crazy. So anyway, that was submitted by Donna Shaw, and I let her know that we would be meeting and getting back to her with that. So
There you go. Discussion.
I'll make a motion we approve.
All right, so Doug has moved. We approve the $300 request for the community night out, second by Garrett.
and I think actually it would be, do we have to refer this to the select board?
We do, so
Yeah,
this
so
would be that we don't approve, that we are going to recommend to the select board at the next meeting.
Yes.
And so, all those in favor? Okay, motion passes. All right, next up.
Okay, so I'll just, it might be easiest actually, when we're looking at this, to go to the back of the remainder of the packet where you can see the pictures of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So this request was submitted by Dawn from the theater at Monmouth.
Yep.
Not Cumston Hall. This is the building that is directly across from the parking lot
Yep.
of Cumston Hall.
Toad Hall.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Toad Hall? Okay, so thank you, Toad Hall. And,
Its name.
It's always been total.
It's always been Toad Hall,
oh, so it is
since forever. I don't know. That's one of the
actual
things
name
we
or a
just-
nickname, I'll confirm with
I
Dawn.
don't, well, we want, that's actually one of the things.
One of the
that
things.
She has to provide us in
Number
order to
one.
get her.
Toad Hall,
It's
why?
like, why?
No, because it's predates everybody.
Well, maybe it's a, passed down in the lore of theater of Monmouth.
But yeah, truly.
Okay, you were saying,
I
sorry.
was saying, yeah, so, and as you likely know, this is a building that houses actors in the summer, and, so she took me through it, it was very nice. But, at this point, the cupola, is, become kind of, a hazard, just kind of a blight. And so the original request, when I talked to Dawn and walked through this, and this is apparently the carriage roof. This portion of the building is the carriage roof.
Right.
Looking to get that piece of the structure removed and the roof reshingled. So, and I talked to her about this. I brought the facade grant guidelines, just so we could all refresh ourselves. Eligible activities do include removal of exterior appurtenances or accessory structures which serve no useful purpose or those in a deteriorated condition which are not economically repairable. She did say that that's not something that can be repaired. The quote in here for the removal of it was $2,200. But a repair would be much more significant and something they're really not interested in doing. So that part is allowed. And again, we had a discussion when we went through the facade application a couple of years ago, whether or not to include roofs in that. And what the committee landed on is that eligible activities do include roofs that are visible from the road, okay? So that might include only one side or a portion of the roof. I made it a point, after I got this application, to drive by and better discern what is seen from the road and which road, right? So because there's
Oh,
Blue
yeah,
Road
Blue
that
Road.
goes down by the side. I welcome you all to do this yourselves, as it's just not rely on me, but from my perspective, I feel what could pass the straight face test would be the front view. And then as you're coming back towards the town office, that side of the roof. So the rear and the one that is on the side of Blue Road are not really able to be seen from the road. So I would say that half the roof would be eligible if we're using that standard of roofs that are visible from the road. So,
Same roof? Separate.
if you look on this, picture, yeah, it's a,
Hip roof.
yeah. It's four
And the shingles, you
sided.
can tell the shingles are starting to curl.
And unfortunately, I think these curly ones on the top right picture are on the Blue Road side of, but they're gonna get the whole thing done regardless. It's
Yeah.
just what portion of it would be covered by the facade grant funds that we provide.
When we said okay to the Masons and their hall, was that the entire, I mean, I know we did a 50-50 match, which is fine, but were both sides of that building visible?
I believe they were.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. So,
I mean, a roof's a roof to me. And if it,
We wouldn't pay for half a roof. We'll give you
Right,
half a roof.
right, so
Yeah, I mean,
I don't understand
Yeah, it's visible.
yeah, it's a roof.
We're gonna let the part of the roof that faces the street is gonna be fine, but the backside's gonna fall in. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
well, and I think at the time, because when we redid this application, roofs weren't included at all.
Right.
And so I think the compromise for the committee, because obviously if a roof is a large expense and can really, if it's not taken care of, can really damage the structural integrity of the building. You know, you're talking about preserving a building. I think what the committee landed on was that because this is a facade grant and not a building,
Yeah.
you know,
Assistance.
yeah, trying to keep a building from falling into disrepair, that it would need to be seen from the road.
Okay.
That said, this committee can recommend whatever they want to the select board.
To figure it out.
And truly, the other piece is that this project, the low bid was $30,000. Our facade grant covers projects up to $25,000. So this facade grant would be up to $12,500 of eligible expense.
So it's already somewhat limited, maxed out.
Yeah, right. That's the,
Right.
the point. I don't know. Yeah. So
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of ways to play this, I mean, she could get a quote for the front and the side of the, like how much is that type of thing. So,
It's also not like they're a fly-by-night nonprofit.
right, yes, them.
Yeah, that was my other question. It's a nonprofit, right? It's not affiliated with the town at all.
So what I need to go back to Dawn and clarify is that in this application, she talked a lot about, when I met with her, and this was maybe 3 months ago, maybe in March, right after our last meeting. There was also other roof work that she was considering having done depending on the price. And I'm confused because she has the two contractors that she's required to get for quotes, but she has kind of multiple projects in here. If you follow the Burke's one, the first quote is for the carriage roof and the removal of the, what is it, Doug? Cupola?
Cupola.
English teachers.
I know, yes, thank you. I'll just cue you when I need to say that, cupola. And the price for that alone was $30,000. And then if you go to the next, if you turn the page,
Right.
there's another quote for $30,000 for the entire main house. So I just want a little more clarity on what they're applying for and what they want done. Obviously, it's a big project no matter what they're doing. They also didn't indicate, I'm assuming that they wanted to go with Burke's because it appears to be the lower of the two quotes, but they didn't specify that in here. So there's just a little bit more to fill in, but I guess I'm looking for some guidance from this group about how you want me to approach this kind of criteria that we have in the facade grant versus kind of the practicality of doing a portion of a roof.
If the roof's visible. I mean, I guess what would be a not visible roof?
Well, I mean, so truly again, this is a four-sided roof. The rear of the roof is in the backyard of the building, so no one's going to see that unless they're going into the backyard of that property, for example.
Well, I guess I was thinking about like another project where somebody came to us and said, oh, for facade improvements, it's in that area. Where would a roof not be visible?
Or flat roof,
Oh, yeah.
perhaps.
Okay.
Not very common, but it could happen, I suppose.
And the other option is I can flesh out, I mean, they may be doing this whole project, which would be $60,000. And in that case,
Maxed out at 12.5.
they're maxed out at 12.5, and there may be parts of the main roof that we can incorporate into this project, for example, and not have to worry about whether or not. But if that's something that doesn't feel quite right to the committee, we should probably have a discussion about it at some point that doesn't have an application in front of us.
No. I don't know. I'm of the mind that we would look at a roof as if
See the
if
roof,
a
you do.
portion of the roof is visible from the road that's within the TIF district, right? Oh, no, it's a business. So we've done any place in
Yeah.
town that's a business. Well, now the camel is in the tent.
So if the business was far from the road, you couldn't see the roof or whatever.
Exactly, right? What about in the fall when the leaves are off the trees?
Well, and that's truly right now, there's a huge tree on the side of Blue Road, next, I'm like, oh, I don't know, could I see this if it were, not in full bloom here, so.
I don't know. Fortunately, it's capped off at 12.5.
Yeah.
So I would point that out to Dawn. That either way she goes, it's capped at 12.5.
Yeah.
And the project needs to be at least $25,000 in order for her to qualify for the 12.5.
Yeah.
But anything more than 25,000, it's still 12.5.
Okay, so I think, so what I'll do is I'll probably go down and meet with her, just to make sure I have everything down, and then we can just set up a quick Zoom meeting to vote, whether or not we're going to recommend this to the select board at the
Sure.
next opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so that's that.
All right, next on our agenda, what have we got?
I didn't have.
Other business.
The only other business was I let Joe Kroll know that the affordable housing TIF passed.
Good.
The votes for the amendment to the Main Street TIF, which I was mentioning to Doug, is no tax dollars and doesn't really affect anyone in town. It was 251 in favor and 140 opposed. And then for the affordable housing TIF, it was 240 in favor and 151 opposed. So, we
5 or 10 people didn't quite get the question.
It was a long question too, unfortunately,
Right.
so, and it has to be, so I think a lot of people just, vote no, so. But good news, and he was very happy. I told him the next step is, I need to compile the application, I need to get verification of the votes and all of this other items, and then send it into the ECD for final approval, so that will be forthcoming, but he was very happy to hear. That's all I have.
Other business. I did mention to the town manager when we were having a conversation about goal setting for the upcoming year, about the thought of creating a welcoming portion of the website that wasn't just utilitarian, like where do I find the ordinance that does X type of thing.
Kind of a visitors.
Right, a visitor's guide to Monmouth.
Yes.
It goes on top of
You thought of
the website. Well, actually, it was Reagan that put us onto it.
that. Yeah,
Reagan.
but still, you remembered it. I,
And I also mentioned the prospect to Dennis, who might play some role. I don't know if he's gonna be the design person or just sort of the administrator slash implementer person. But he was enthusiastic about it as well. So we are moving forward in that slowly. And we'll have to, you know, push the select board a little bit to make it happen.
I don't, you think the select board needs to push? Because I thought we'd be all over that. I mean, I think it's a great idea.
Well, then the select board needs to crack the whip on the town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's, especially if it's done in-house, adding a web page is not a huge expense. It would be
Yeah.
a TIF expense.
Yep.
It would just be a matter of
Content.
designing and making sure everyone feels like, you know, it's a good outward facing representation of the town.
Right.
So yeah, that would be the piece.
So Dennis did take the time to go and look at Munson's website.
Yeah.
Familiarize himself with what we were sort of after. And I suggested to him that perhaps we could do it in-house as well. That he would just need to, I mean, he's a creative dude. That's what he does, right? So maybe we can just figure out a way to find a stipend to pay him for some time to you know, work the magic and get some images that work.
Would the TIF provide? It would.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be great. I'll follow up with Justin also, just so.
Yeah, just nudge him.
Just nudging.
Nudge him.
Great.
What else on economic development? Oh, I don't know if you're aware, the bank building sold.
No, I did not
Right.
know that.
I don't know.
You didn't know that?
No.
Did you know that?
No.
I thought the bank, maybe I dreamt it or something, but I would have expected Doug to be aware of it. The bank building sold to the company that is running the educational services out of the old control school. And they're using it, as I understand it, I mean, this is all secondhand hearsay, but they're using it for administrative offices.
Oh, no.
Wow.
That's the scuttlebutt. Mhm.
That's great.
Well, at least it gets somebody in there to
Yeah.
put it to work.
Interesting. No one mentioned that to me, but I will make sure it's not a dream
Okay,
and,
well, and it was hearsay, so
interesting.
that's
Well,
what
it would be
Facebook
easy-
says.
I was gonna say,
There's
it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out.
about a 50-50 chance that it's actually, some part of that story is true.
I wonder how many. But yeah, I would be interested to know how many employees that would be.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge building, so it couldn't be.
Right.
It's a good space for stuff, I guess.
Well, and it's also a good sign that this educational services
Yeah.
company is healthy and growing. Right, because they just bought, I mean, what was it, 3 years ago, they bought that building?
But they have an enormous number of employees up here.
Well, and so they're outgrowing their space.
Where's the current space?
It's the old elementary school that's down the road here
Okay.
on
Right
Academy.
next to my house.
Okay.
And my granddaughter works
Okay.
Oh, well,
there. She has a job there all summer and all year.
Well, there you go.
I wish my daughter would. Job there.
That'd be super easy, tough commute.
It's, the thing was, three generations have gone to school there and then worked there. My wife, and then,
Did she go to school there? Nancy went to school there?
oh yeah, it was,
She was a student there?
yeah,
It was open that long? Wow.
it was back in the 50s, it opened. And it was just one wing, the wing in going back and forth horizontal to the road. And then they added a wing going back.
Hmm.
And then added they call the open area when Henry Cottrell was alive.
Interesting. Other business, economic development business.
I did tell as reminded these two before you got here that we usually don't meet in July and August,
Thank God.
which is why I wanted to go over this now and then we'll just get a Zoom for a vote, but, unless there's something pressing, I'll also try and, I mean, we don't usually get applications over the summer either, so.
I don't know if it's finalized, but I think it's okay that I can talk about it because they've been pretty public about it. The Maine Cabin Masters people have put the old B&B under contract. So the B&B on Route 135. Up here.
My neighbor.
And the sellers are friends of mine and tell me that what they are talking about doing is re-energizing it and using it as a B&B.
But Lorette and
And
Tom won't be involved.
No, they're selling. They're selling it to Maine Cabin Masters.
So it will be a Maine Cabin Masters themed B&B?
That's my understanding. Would you like to go talk to them? Maybe you should go talk to them, see what we can do to be helpful.
Yes, I will.
And actually, you know,
Yeah.
can I just say that it's great, and actually we should take it as a compliment that Monmouth is getting
Yeah.
their investment.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And it's because we've been open and welcoming and looking for ways to collaborate. So
I'm still looking to get them to move their restaurant to here, but.
working.
Magnolia Way.
There you go.
Isn't that like, am I talking way out of my?
No, it's the Magnolia Channel, right?
Yeah, with the Chip and Joanna, like, games. Okay, I've gone too far. They essentially own a place in like Waco area, Texas, and they have this whole town
Oh, yeah.
that people go to.
Wow. Oh, yeah, we could do that, like a theme
Yeah.
park type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, there was a time in Monmouth when it was all about the Woolworths, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the 50s. That's why Monmouth Mustangs are called the Monmouth Mustangs. It's
Hmm.
because they were named after, horses.
That's really.
Oh, yeah, that's why they went with the,
Your mom knows this.
yeah. Actually, I think Rudy
Johnson.
told me that one. Like that was, like in the 50s, high schools didn't have mascots up until the 1950s. And then every high school sort of adopted a mascot. And in Monmouth, they decided Mustangs because it was horse country because of the wars.
They have a lot of horses.
Yeah.
Racing horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cabin Masters could have like city people pounding boards or, like just do some experiential.
My sister-in-law
There you go.
is a devout follower of that show.
Is she?
Yeah. She will come by and spy on them from my house.
Yeah.
Well, you passed the word. I don't know what's going on in their first, have they done much with the old lumber?
It looks like they've
Couple things,
yeah,
yeah.
like contracted to a business, or I don't know if that's them or a subsidiary of
Did
them.
They did a workshop one day, woodworking,
Yes.
right? Am I making that? Yeah.
Have you been in there?
No.
Oh, well, they had a kind of an open house summer.
Hmm.
You got to go all through everything. And they've done great things in there. That one building is filled with really nice shop equipment. Yeah, so. You could have you could bring kids there to train them in, woodworking
Yeah.
stuff and,
Wonder if they would be interested in collaborating on that with the high school.
I do know my friend's son is interning with them this summer. He goes to, the Capital Area Technical Center.
Yeah.
And, he does the woodworking, and they had two kids that they brought on this summer. He's a rising senior, so he was really excited to do that and just have an internship with main cabinet masters. So, I think they do, a lot of little outreach things. Probably
Right.
they should publicize themselves better than they do, but.
Right. Interesting. I know Chris Sanborn has always been sort of like, we need to bring shop back.
yeah.
And of course, to do it in a compliant way with the state is ridiculously expensive, so that's just not realistic. But maybe there's another way.
Up there is another way. I can see them growing that whole thing. Involving more kids.
Hmm.
Because it's be a good career.
All right, any other business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Sorry.
I'm giving it to Gary.
Gary got it first. You already have two motions.
I know, I do.
But we'll count you as a second. All right,
I'll say.
so the time is 6:40 and that is a super effective meeting. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Sorry I was late. We are adjourned.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So you get stuck behind the light.
No, I got stuck with a guest who was a little bit late and I had